I was born chill. When my younger siblings fought over milk, I sat calmly on the side. Live or die, whatever. When we grew up, my sister snatched the better marriage proposal first, leaving me to marry the allegedly bankrupt heir, Adrien Sterling. I nodded, okay. As long as he's human, I'm good. Later, Adrien staged a comeback and became the richest man in the city, the envy of everyone. My sister came to me, hoping to swap husbands so she could be Mrs. Sterling. Just as I was about to nod and agree, Adrien stepped forward and covered my mouth. That's not happening. Me? It could happen, Adrien. It really can't. When we were kids, if my brother and sister brawled over the last bottle of juice, I just watched. It wasn't that I didn't want it. I just felt that getting it was fine and not getting it was also fine. It's just juice. Once it's gone, it's gone. Mom always said I had no temper. Dad said my go-with-the-flow attitude was heartbreaking. But they soon realized my personality was actually quite convenient. Since I didn't fight for anything, they could just give the best stuff to my siblings. Gradually, heartbreaking became matter of course. The best room went to my sister, Bella, because girls need to be pampered. The expensive private tutors went to my brother, because boys need to succeed. As for me, Jane, I got the smallest north-facing room and went to public school. He won't mind, Mom said every time. I really didn't mind. I didn't take it to heart at all. At 23, I graduated and got a clerical job at a standard company, with an average salary. My life was ripple-free. Bella, 2 years younger, had just returned from studying abroad, and was waiting to be married off. At night, our parents called us to the living room. 2 portfolios lay on the coffee table. Dad cleared his throat. You're both at the age to marry. These 2 young men are suitable candidates. I picked up one, Adrien Sterling, 28. Heir to Sterling Group. The man in the photo had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, an outstanding aura. The file noted, Sterling Group has recently suffered from mismanagement and has filed for bankruptcy restructuring. The other was Liam Cole, the only son of the wealthy Cole family. Solid foundation, assets in the billions. Bella picks first, Mom said, looking at my sister as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Bella didn't even glance at Adrien's file. She grabbed Liam's immediately. I want the Cole family. She turned to me. Eyes gleamed with triumph and entitlement. Jane, you marry Adrien. You're not picky. Anyway. I looked at Adrien's photo. Okay. Mom let out a sigh of relief. Jane is so sensible. Although Adrien is down on his luck, he's still a Sterling. He's more than good enough for you. Dad nodded, too. It's settled then, marriage is marriage. Just living life. Besides, truthfully, the man in the photo was quite handsome. From that day on, the house was in wedding mode. Bella's wedding was set for 3 months later. 50 tables at the city's finest 5-star hotel. Mom was busy every day picking dresses, jewelry and decor, spinning like a top. My wedding was set for a week after Bella's. 10 tables at a regular restaurant. Mom said, since the Sterling family doesn't have many people left, let's keep it simple. I nodded, okay. Then came the dowry preparation. Truckloads of goods moved out for Bella. Designer bags, jewelry, antique faces, the latest appliances, and a check for $500,000 Mom prepared specifically for her. If the dowry is light, the Cole family will look down on us, Mom said, while directing the movers. We can't lose face for me. Mom prepared 2 suitcases. One for clothes, one for daily necessities, and a modest set of silver jewelry. I looked at the 2 thin suitcases and said, nothing. Mom probably felt a twinge of guilt and explained. Jane, you're marrying a bankrupt man. Adrien has nothing now. It's his blessing to marry you at all. He wouldn't dare complain about a small dowry. He should be grateful, Dad added. Your sister is different. The Coles are old money. We can't let them underestimate us. You should understand. I know growing up, Bella got the best because she had to marry well. It didn't matter for me because I didn't care. Caring was useless. This logic had run smoothly in our family for over 20 years. Like a precise machine. The night before the wedding, Bella came to my room, leaning against the door frame as I packed. "Jane, don't you feel short-changed?" she asked. Short-changed? How I folded clothes without looking up. Marrying a bankrupt guy, she smirked. I couldn't handle it. You don't have to. You're marrying Liam. True. She nodded with satisfaction. But don't be too sad. I heard Adrien is a decent guy. At least he won't treat you badly. I looked up at her. You're right. She paused, probably surprised by my calmness. Found it boring, shrugged and left. I continued packing, thinking I'm getting married tomorrow. Marrying a man I've never met. Starting a completely strange life. Sounds kind of interesting. It drizzled on my wedding day. Bella's wedding a week ago was star-studded and lively. I went to help watching her in a gown wearing the family jade heirloom. Holding Liam's arm, face full of happiness. For my wedding, hardly anyone came. Only a few distant relatives from the Sterling side showed up. My side of the family said they weren't feeling well and didn't come. Only a few colleagues I got along with came to support me. I wore the dress Mom prepared. A simple white dress, no veil. The makeup artist was recommended by the restaurant owner. Average skills gave me a light look. I looked in the mirror and thought I looked pretty good. The ceremony was simple. No MC. No flower girl, no complex procedures. Adrien and I exchanged rings under the witness of friends and family. Simple silver rings, probably a few $100s. I saw Adrien in person for the first time. He was taller and thinner than in the photo. He wore a suit that had been washed until it was slightly faded. But his tie was meticulous. His hair neat. There was awkwardness in his eyes. But he tried hard to maintain his dignity. His look was complex, apologetic. Yet inquiring. I'm sorry. He whispered, as we exchanged rings. For making you marry someone like me. I looked at him. This man had beautiful eyes. Even in poverty, his inherent grace couldn't be hidden. It's okay. I don't care anyway. He paused, then chuckled softly. A smile mixed with indescribable bitterness. After the brief ceremony, we cut the cake. Toasted and collected the few red envelopes. Then Adrien said to me, let's go home. Home. The word sounded a bit unfamiliar. Our new home was an old apartment on the outskirts of the city. 6th floor, no elevator. I followed, listening to his heavy footsteps. He looked back at me, guilt in his eyes. Sorry for making you live in a place like this. I looked around. It's fine. At least it's quiet, smiled and opened the door. The apartment was small, about 600 square feet. One bedroom, but it was very clean. Simple furniture, clean curtains. Freshly washed sheets drying on the balcony. I spent yesterday cleaning. I said shyly. Hope you can get used to it. I looked at this small space and felt it was cozy. I will. He put the suitcases in the bedroom. Then took a stack of crumpled bills from his pocket. And placed them in my hand. This is everything I have right now. $3,000. I'm starting as a delivery driver tomorrow. I should be able to make some money. I'll support you. I took the bills. Still warm, from his hand. They were smoothed out carefully. Old but clean. You keep this money if you give it all to me. What if you need cash while you're out working? I pushed the money back, my gaze frank without a shred of disdain. You don't despise me, he asked. Eyes holding a cautious hope. No, as long as we can survive. Complex emotion flashed in his eyes. Turning into a light sigh. You really are. He didn't finish, but I knew what he meant. Probably thought I was too easy to fool. That night, we had a simple dinner. He cooked noodles with 2 eggs. I'm not a good cook. Just make do. It's tasty. I genuinely thought so. The plain noodles tasted like home. After dinner, he volunteered to wash the dishes. I sat on the sofa watching his busy back in the kitchen. And suddenly felt that this life wasn't bad. At bedtime, he gentlemanly offered to sleep on the sofa. It's okay. The bed is big enough. Let's sleep together. My understanding of sleeping together was literally Just closing eyes and sleeping. He hesitated for a long time. But chose the sofa. Let's wait until you're used to it. Lying in bed. Seeing his figure curled up on the sofa through the half-open door. I felt something indescribable. This man seemed better than I imagined. Life with Adrien was quiet. It wasn't the explosive, rose-colored romance described in novels, nor was it the tragic struggle my mother had predicted. It was just, steady. Adrien kept his word. He worked as a delivery driver for a logistics company during the day, and at night, he studied market trends on a battered laptop he'd salvaged from his old office. He never complained. When he came home, smelling of sweat and exhaust fumes, the first thing he did was wash his hands and ask me about my day. It was fine, I'd usually say, handing him a glass of water. Standard. He would smile, that same self-deprecating, gentle smile. Standard is good. Standard is safe. 3 months in, the chill attitude that my parents despised became our greatest asset. When the logistics company Adrien worked for faced a routing crisis due to a system failure, the managers were screaming, drivers were quitting, and chaos reigned. Adrien didn't scream. He sat down with a map and a pen, and within 2 hours, he had manually rerouted the entire district. He came home that night with a weird energy. Jane, he said, sitting at our small kitchen table. I think I see a gap in the market. Okay, I said, looking up from my book. The software they use is archaic. I can build something better. But I need time. And I might need to quit the driving job to focus on coding. He looked terrified to ask. He was afraid I'd worry about the money. I looked at our savings jar. We had enough for rent and noodles for 3 months. Do it, I said. Are you sure? It's a risk. If we go broke, I'll just eat less. I'm on a diet anyway. He stared at me, then laughed. It was the first time I heard him laugh with genuine joy, not polite bitterness. He came over and hugged me. He smelled like rain and cheap soap. You are the strangest woman I have ever met, Jane Sterling. Jane Sterling. I liked the sound of that. While Adrien built his empire in our 600-square-foot living room, my sister Bella was living the high life. Or so she said. I saw her occasionally at mandatory family dinners. She wore Chanel, but she looked exhausted. Liam Cole, her husband, rarely came with her. When he did, he spent the entire time texting. Liam is just so busy, Bella bragged, fingering a diamond necklace. He's expanding the business in Europe. He wants to take me to Paris next month. That's nice, I said, eating my soup. Mom looked at my off-brand sweater with disdain. Jane, look at you. You look like a maid. Doesn't that husband of yours make any money? He makes enough, I said. Enough for what? Instant noodles? Dad scoffed. We told you. You married a sinking ship. I didn't defend Adrien. I didn't feel the need to. I knew he was currently coding a proprietary logistics algorithm that had already attracted the interest of 2 venture capital firms. But explaining that to them would take too much energy. Pass the salt, please, I said. 2 years. That's how long it took for the sinking ship to turn into a nuclear submarine. Adrien didn't just rebuild the Sterling Group, he reinvented it. He launched Sterling Flow, a logistics tech company. By the time the news hit the papers, the company had already gone public. The morning the stock went live, we were still in our small apartment. We watched the numbers tick up on the screen. Adrien sat back in his chair, exhaling a breath he seemed to have been holding for 700 days. He turned to me. We're billionaires, Jane. I took a sip of my coffee. Cool. He looked at me, incredulous. Cool. That's it? Well, do we have to move today? I asked. I just did the laundry. Adrien burst out laughing. He pulled me into his lap, burying his face in my neck. I love you. I love that you don't care. You're the only thing that kept me sane. We did move, eventually. Not to a gaudy mansion, but to a penthouse in the city center, mostly because it was closer to his office and I hated commuting. The reaction from my family was immediate and predictable. Mom called me the day the Forbes article came out. Jane. Oh my goodness. Why didn't you tell us Adrien was doing so well? We're so proud. Thanks, I said. We need to celebrate. Bring Adrien to dinner. The big house. When we arrived, the atmosphere was different. Dad poured Adrien the expensive scotch. Mom fussed over my coat. But the most interesting reaction was Bella's. She was sitting in the corner, holding a glass of wine too tightly. Liam wasn't there. So, Bella said, her voice sharp. He's back on top. It seems so, I said. Lucky you, she sneered. You just sat there and let it happen. Pretty much, I agreed. Adrien placed a hand on the small of my back. His suit was bespoke now, Italian wool, cut to perfection. The awkwardness from his poverty days was gone, replaced by a terrifyingly calm authority. Jane didn't just sit there, Adrien said coolly, looking Bella in the eye. She believed. That's harder than it looks. It turned out Bella's marriage was imploding. The Cole family money was tied up in bad real estate investments, and Liam was a gambler. Not a business gambler, a literal casino gambler. Bella's allowance had been cut. The designer bags stopped coming. She looked at Adrien, then at me, and I saw the gears turning in her head. The entitlement that had been fed to her since birth was rewriting history. In her mind, she had made a mistake in the draft pick, and now she wanted a redo. That brings us to the moment where everything changed. Adrien had just been named Businessman of the Year. There was a gala. I wore a simple black velvet dress. No jewelry except my silver wedding band. The media called my style quiet luxury and effortlessly chic. It was hilarious. I just didn't like heavy necklaces. Bella showed up at our penthouse the next morning. I was drinking tea. Adrien was reading a report on his tablet. Jane, can I talk to you? Bella asked. She looked manic. Sure. I'm leaving Liam. Okay. He's broke, Jane. He's useless. I deserve better. Mom and Dad agree. Okay. She took a deep breath. You know, originally, the parents wanted me to marry Adrien. It was a misunderstanding that I didn't. I raised an eyebrow. You chose Liam. I was young. I was manipulated. She stepped closer, ignoring me and looking at Adrien. Adrien, you know how it works in our circles. You need a wife who understands high society. Jane, she's great, but she's so plain. She hates parties. She hates networking. I can help you. I watched this performance with genuine fascination. It was like watching a car crash in slow motion. So, Bella said, her voice dropping to a seductive purr. I was thinking. Since Liam and I are divorcing, maybe we can correct the mistake. Jane doesn't really care about money or status. She'd probably be happier living a simple life. But I can be Mrs. Sterling. She actually turned to me. Jane, you'd be okay with a settlement, right? You always said you didn't care. I opened my mouth to say, I mean, if Adrien wants to go, I'm not gonna stop him, because honestly, fighting for a man seemed exhausting. But I never got the words out. Adrien stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the marble floor. He didn't look at Bella. He walked over to me, stood behind my chair, and placed both hands on my shoulders. His grip was firm, possessive. That's not happening, he said. His voice was low, but it carried a weight that made the air in the room feel heavy. Me? Bella blinked, confused. It could happen, Adrien. We look better together. We make sense. It really can't, Adrien said. Why? Bella demanded, her voice shrill. She doesn't even fight for you. Look at her. She's just sitting there. Exactly, Adrien said. He looked down at me, and his expression softened into something fierce and adoring. When I had nothing, she sat with me. When I have everything, she sits with me. She is the only person in this entire city who wants me, not the name, not the money. She is my home. He looked back at Bella, his eyes cold as ice. Get out of my house. And if you ever disrespect my wife again, I will buy the Cole family debt and foreclose on your husband's assets by lunchtime. Bella fled. She literally ran. I looked up at Adrien. Foreclose by lunchtime. That's dramatic. He kissed the top of my head. I learned from the best. Go with the flow, right? The flow today is destroying enemies. Sounds tiring, I sighed. But okay. Bella didn't stop, though. Entitlement is a hell of a drug. She went to our parents. The next weekend, Mom and Dad showed up. Jane, Dad started, looking grave. We need to talk about the family image. What about it? Bella is suffering. She's your sister. The Cole family is ruining her reputation. If she divorces Liam, she'll be a divorcee with no money. It looks bad for us. And, Mom interjected, Adrien is powerful now. He can take care of Bella. In the old days, sisters sometimes shared responsibilities. Or, maybe you could step aside. You've had your fun. You're not cut out for this billionaire lifestyle. You hate galas. I stared at them. For 25 years, I had nodded. I had said okay. I had taken the small room, the cheap clothes, the leftover affection. You want me to divorce my husband so Bella can have his money, I summarized. It's not just the money. Mom cried. It's about what's best for everyone. You've always been so adaptable, Jane. You're strong. You can survive on your own. Bella needs to be pampered. I looked at the teacup in my hand. It was fine bone china. Expensive. Breakable. I set it down gently. No. The silence was deafening. Excuse me. Dad frowned. I said no. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't stand up. I just looked at them. I'm not giving her my room. I'm not giving her my juice. And I'm certainly not giving her my husband. You selfish, Mom started. Am I? I interrupted. Or are you just used to me being convenient? I'm not convenient anymore. I'm Jane Sterling. And I'm tired of you people. I picked up my phone and texted security. Escort guests out. Do not let them back in. Please leave, I said. I have a nap scheduled. The fallout was swift. Adrien made good on his threat, not to destroy the Coles, but to ensure they couldn't hurt us. He bought the company Liam Cole had bankrupted, stripped it for parts, and offered the employees jobs at Sterling Flow. Liam was left with nothing but his gambling debt. Bella divorced him, but without Adrien as a safety net, she had to move back in with Mom and Dad. The three of them, Mom, Dad, and Bella, were stuck in the old house, bickering over dwindling finances, blaming each other. They tried to reach out to me for money. I sent them a monthly allowance. It was exactly the amount of the salary from my old clerical job. Enough to survive. Not enough to show off. It's fine, I told Adrien when he asked if I wanted to cut them off completely. Living an average life isn't a punishment. It's what I did for years. They can get used to it. 5 years later. It was raining again. I sat on the balcony of our villa overlooking the ocean. We had moved away from the city hustle. Adrien ran the company remotely most days, flying in only when necessary. I heard the door slide open. Adrien stepped out, holding 2 mugs of hot chocolate. He looked older, a few gray hairs at his temples, but happier. He was less sharp, more rounded at the edges. He sat down beside me. What are you thinking about? He asked. Juice, I said. Juice? When we were kids, my brother and sister fought over the last bottle. I let them have it because I thought, it's just juice. Adrien nodded, listening. For a long time, I thought I just didn't care about anything. That I was broken because I didn't have that hunger. That desire to grab things. I looked at him. He was looking at me with that same intense, quiet reverence he had on our wedding day in that cheap restaurant. But I realized something, I said. I wasn't waiting for juice. I was waiting for something that was actually worth the effort. I reached out and adjusted the collar of his sweater. I'm glad I saved my energy. Adrien smiled. He took my hand and kissed the palm. I'm glad you did too. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Bella. Jane, Mom says we need a new heater. The old one broke. Can you send extra this month? I looked at the message. I thought about the cold north-facing room I grew up in. I thought about the thin blankets. I typed back, put on a sweater. It builds character. Then I turned off the phone. Everything okay? Adrien asked. Yeah, I leaned back, closing my eyes, listening to the rain and the ocean. Everything is perfectly chill. We sat there in silence, watching the storm roll over the water, warm and safe in the house we built together. I didn't need to fight for this. It was mine. And for the first time in my life, I held on to it tight.